That's the recorder. I think it's Brian on there.
Might be that television.
Something is not muted. Is it?
It
Yeah.
sounds like it's coming in. Are you sure Michael's
Is it
not?
Michael's at your computer?
My computer's, it's.
Turn your microphone off for a second.
Test.
I don't know what's going on, I muted. Do it again.
Test, 1, 2, testing. 1, 2.
That's definitely coming from his computer. Anyways, let's take care of business real quick. Good evening. Today is August 8th, 2022. This is a work session for the Mayor and Common Council, Borough of Flemington. This meeting is being called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of August 8th, 2022 was included in the list of meetings notice sent to the Huntington County Democrat and Courier News on January 5th, 2022, posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on that date, and has remained continuously posted as required. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the Borough Clerk. Would you take attendance, please?
Certainly. Ms. Driver,
Here.
Ms. Hand is out. Mr. Johnston. Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Parker. Here. Ms. Rossetti. She's out earlier.
Yeah, that's okay.
Ms. Tilley.
Here.
So we do not have an agenda. Oh, there's Mr. Rossetti.
Okay.
We don't have an agenda for the work session, so unless council has something they'd like to discuss, we're going to go ahead and adjourn it. Council, anything to throw out on the table? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Killian.
Low second.
We do a roll call. To adjourn.
For Jeremy?
Yeah,
Okay. Ms. Driver?
I didn't vote on this.
You're the last one.
Yeah, I didn't vote on this.
Okay. Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Rossetti?
I think she froze.
Chief here.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm having some technical difficulties, sorry. Yes, though.
Oh, yes. Did you get Tony?
Okay, work session is adjourned.
Thank you.
You're live.
Today is August 8th, 2022. This is Mayor and Common Council Borough of Flemington regular council meeting. This meeting is being held in person as well as online. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. And this meeting of August 8th, 2022 was included in the list of meetings notice sent to the Huntington County Democrat and Courier News on January 5th, 2022, posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on that date, and has remained continuously posted as required. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of Borough Clerk. We did have a work session on the agenda. No business took place. We called it to order and immediately adjourned. And so then we just hung out. Here we are going into the regular meeting. We're going to rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to again welcome Mr. Humphrey as our clerk administrator, and this is his first meeting as clerk. Good luck. And that's it. I have a very short mayor's report.
Roll call.
Find do the roll, please.
Okay, Ms. Hand is out. Mr. Johnson?
Should be here. Had technology issues in his office, right? Said, but we'll be late.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Parker? Here. Ms. Rossetti?
Here.
Ms. Tilley?
Here.
And Mayor Driver?
Here.
I'm here.
Now I can give a very short mayor's report. So Dewey Avenue, as you may have noticed, looks like it's a stalled project. It's not. We are having issues as our other municipalities in Huntington County getting concrete. And the sidewalks and curbing and driveway aprons need to be done before they can finish the road by putting the blacktop on. We worked with the governor's office, the DOT, and the funders, the IBank. And we came to a solution, one of which is a waiver with conditions. Another one is using a vendor who's further away and waiving the time limit they have to deliver, but I believe that the engineers are working towards the waiver with conditions, and it should work out. So they should be starting back up there on Dewey Avenue no later than August 22nd. Perhaps before. Once they finish that up, it shouldn't take that long to do the curbs, the sidewalk, the driveway aprons, tear up the old concrete pavement, do a proper pavement, and they'll be moving over to Hopewell Avenue to get that going as well. The next meeting we have here at council, I'm expecting representatives from Cardinal Capital Development who are under contract for the Tarboy property. They'll be doing a presentation on a mixed use development. I think it's 110 units. I'm so sorry I did not write that down. And mixed use and some retail there as well. So they'll be looking for a designation since that is an area in need of redevelopment. Also posted on the borough website today, if anyone is interested and meets income levels. Habitat for Humanity has received some grant money to help low-income homeowners fix up their property in town. All the details are on the borough website, and you can get it from there, and you can contact Habitat for Humanity for more details. Making a quick change to the order of reports, and Tara will be doing an early attorney's report. There were some questions about, in particular, my campaign Facebook page that were leveled at the last meeting, and so Tara would like to address that.
So as everyone may recall at the last meeting, allegations were made that Mayor Driver is using a Facebook page and was deleting or hiding comments and blocking certain users from the page. At the time, I declined to comment on it in any way because courts analysis of a Facebook page and whether it any social media page, whether it constitutes a public forum that implicates people's First Amendment rights, it's a fact-sensitive analysis. It's not a one size fits all. It's done on a case-by-case basis. So therefore, I didn't want to make any statements without knowing what the page was, how it was set up, and investigating the background of it. So I did that. I reviewed the page at issue. And I also, to inform my decision, I looked at federal and state case law. And I'll give you the background, but the highlight is I reviewed the page, and it is a private campaign page, which, like I said, it's a private page. It's not a public forum that implicates First Amendment rights. So the administrators of said page can delete or hide comments and block users as they see fit. What led me to this conclusion was, again, like I said, I reviewed federal and state case law. There are three main cases that federal courts have come out with that really inform the decision on when you look at a social media account, whether it's a government account that implicates First Amendment rights. The first is probably one everyone's familiar with. It's actually the Knight First Amendment Institute versus Trump. It was regarding former President Trump's Twitter account. And in that case, they found that President Trump had converted his personal Twitter page to what amounted to a government message. He was using it as the president's Twitter account. However, what is interesting about that case is by the time it reached the Supreme Court, Donald Trump was the former president and had gone back to being a private citizen. And so the Supreme Court vacated everything the lower courts had done, saying that the account's gone back to a personal account. It's no longer government property. The second case I looked at was Davison versus Randall from the Fourth Circuit, and that involved a local public official in Virginia who had what is you typically see as a public figure Facebook page. This specific government official actually had 3 separate Facebook accounts. One was her personal account, one was her campaign account, and one was her official government account. And that one, I believe, was linked on the government's webpage. She used it to inform people of when meetings were and things like that. But then she also had a private campaign page. And the third one that I found most similar to this case is Campbell versus, I think the last name is pronounced Reich. It was an 8th Circuit case, and that involved I believe this was a Twitter account. But again, the court looked at it and found that the account was more akin to a campaign newsletter than an informational government account. And so when I looked at all of these, the courts look at 3 main things when they look at a social media account to determine whether or not it's a public forum. They look at how the page was created, what was the purpose that the page was created for, and how is it used. So in this case, I looked at the creation of Mayor Driver's Facebook page at issue, and it was created before Mayor Driver was on council, and at that time it was a campaign page for her initial council election. Then it was converted to a campaign page when Mayor Driver ran for mayor. And then the page was actually deactivated in mid-2020 and recently reactivated in about April before the Democratic primary for mayor. So in that case, the timing of how the page was created really indicates that it was created for campaign purposes. And then the purpose of the account is evident on the face of it. It contains a lot of paid for disclosures. It has the logo for the campaign. It is set up as a political candidate page on Facebook. You can designate your pages for a political candidate, a public official, a public figure, things like that. And then third, I looked at use of the account. And on the whole, the account is really used to highlight things that Mayor Driver wants voters to think about when going to the polls. Now, I did find posts on the page that were more like notifying people about community events. There were a couple posts warning people about the heat advisory. However, the courts have looked at that, and the federal court in particular in that Campbell versus Bryce case did say that sporadic use of an account for things that don't exactly fit into the mold of a campaign doesn't convert it into government property. You have to look at what really all factors in the analysis. And when I looked at everything together, it weighed in favor that this is a private campaign page. And so this, this exercise in researching all of this, I don't think is just specific to looking at Mayor Driver's page. I think it is the memo I gave to council is informative for everyone about if you're thinking of setting up a social media page for your campaign, setting up a social media page as a public official, or just making sure that you don't muddy the waters with your own private account. So with that, as you may recall, back in, I think it was February 2020, we did a sort of a government officials seminar. And one of the things we went over was social media use. And so I think this is, this topic coming up sort of reminds us that we should probably think about scheduling one of those to go over, give everybody a refresher on how our government works. We do have new council members that haven't had that training. So I think in the next few weeks, we should kick around some dates for that. And even since just in the last 2 years, case law has significantly changed when it comes to the use of social media. The cases I cited, aside from the Trump case, have all been decided since we had that seminar. And I did look at, just kind of going backwards, I did look at New Jersey case law. Typically, these First Amendment cases, they go to the federal courts. New Jersey courts will analyze social media accounts when it comes to open public records requests. And I use that as informative, not that they're looking at First Amendment rights in those cases, but they're looking at whether that page is serving a government function and is a government record. So I think the analysis that the New Jersey courts do is instructive when looking at whether or not the page is a public forum. And New Jersey courts have made clear distinctions between a government page and a private campaign page. A private campaign page is not a government record. It's not subject to the Open Public Records Act. So with that, if anyone has any questions, or, you know, like I said, I think we should just send around an email and kick around some dates, maybe in mid to late September, to think about doing a little seminar. And all of the materials from the last seminar were made public. My PowerPoint presentation was attached to an agenda, so all members of council and members of the public could sort of see what we talked about. But the real purpose of that is to allow you guys to ask questions, and get some attorney advice on some topics you might be thinking about that maybe don't fit into the normal agenda. So any questions?
I would love to be part of that
And I know
review. Yeah, I think that that's a great idea.
in looking at this, I think this is a good time to be talking about social media, because one, it's campaign season. And two, I know Councilman Parker and Long are thinking about trying to set up more of a public official page. So this is all good stuff to help us with that. So I don't think this was an exercise just to look at the one Facebook page. I tried to make my analysis applicable, that we could use this in forming decisions going forward.
So I just for clarification, just because I don't know, analogies help me understand things. Is it my interpretation of what you're saying about using your campaign page versus an official government official page? It's like a PR effort versus.
Yeah, it's like what would typically be like your campaign mailers, things like that. The sort of the hard and fast examples was in the Davison case. The government official, one of the things she was posting on her account was, tonight is, our meeting, please, come out and hear the issues on the agenda. Whereas she did have a separate campaign page that was more said things like, here are bullet points of things I've done during my tenure as an elected official, or here are the things I want to do. It was the official government page sort of encourages public discourse, whereas the campaign page is really for convincing people to vote for you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? So we'll go ahead and move on then to council reports. Today we're going to start with Liz Rossetti. Councilwoman Liz Rossetti, hello on Zoom.
Good evening. No, I actually don't have anything to report today, but thank you, Tara. I really appreciate all that research and background information. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, starting to my left, we'll go to Councilman Tony Parker.
Yeah, so I finally had a tour of the borough, which I'm going to encourage every borough for resident to do that tour and have Mike Campion take you around. It was both eye-opening, very disturbing in some cases, and I learned a lot about not only the town, but what's going on in terms of the water, what's going on in terms of the wells, what's going on in terms of the police station, what's going on in terms of PWD. And I will say this, I cannot imagine having someone who protects this borough walk into that office of the police station. I think that's the most horrendous thing I've ever seen in my life. I would not go there. I would not go. I don't even know why this is an issue, and I don't understand a couple of other things. And believe me, I'm a newbie here, and I'm so not political. What I don't understand is how this has been allowed to happen for so many years. I don't understand how land was just given for $1 for 99 years or whatever the case may be. I mean, this, it's, this it's almost as though the town worked against itself. And I don't understand that. So it was, I don't want to go through a lecture on this, but I just found it very eye-opening, and I am actually going to encourage somehow, some way, we need to do a walking tour or having a tour of the entire town, particularly the parks and things like that. It's so much potential in this town. I don't understand why it's not being utilized. And I've also done it, and I understand why people don't want to get involved. I understand it, I get it. So I think we have a task, and that is to wake everybody up. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you finally took that tour.
Yeah, I am too.
Going down to Council President Jeremy Long.
Good evening, folks. I have a rather lengthy police report. The Flemington Borough Police Department's Citizens Academy has completed. It went extremely well. Something the police department would definitely like to do again at some point. The feedback from those who attended was overly positive. It appears that everybody pretty much experienced it. Everybody experienced it who was involved. The Flemington PD will be helping the Police Explorers with their fundraiser, and that's the 8th annual kickball game, Police Officers versus Police Explorers, on September 11, 2022 at 2 p.m. That's going to be at the Flemington Marina Ball Fields. It's $10 for admission, and that fee is going to go to help fund the Explorer program, which if you're not familiar with that program, we have a few officers who were explorers, and it's sort of like a farm system for cops, and it's very successful. On July 31st, I got a string of events here. 31st of July, juveniles entered an empty store at Liberty Village, causing property damage. The juveniles ran off once seeing employees of Liberty Village checking the area. Also on the 31st, 3 juveniles were detained after reports of them in a motor vehicle going around shooting people with a look-alike gun. Turned out to be a high-powered water airsoft gun. Charges are pending review of the Hunter County Prosecutor's Office. Charges are as follows: unlawful possession of a weapon, unlawful possession of a handgun, or BB spraying or elastic weapon, and also assault. On August 2nd, a resident mailed a check for $4,100 to the U.S. Post Office in July. Check did not make it to the intended party and was taken while in transit in cash. The police department, along with the United States Postal Inspection Service, are investigating, and arrest is pending. August 4th, the shoplifting was reported at Ralph Lauren Polo Outlet. A female entered the store wearing a brown long sleeve shirt, brown shorts, and a black hat. Grabbed clothing valued at $411 and ran out of the store. Video footage was turned over by Polo to the police. August 6th, an individual suffered a heroin overdose. Unfortunately, she was given 2 doses of Narcan and transported to the medical center. On August 7th, a 55-year-old man was arrested for harassment, disorderly conduct after yelling profanities at customers at Wawa and trying to fight them. The male approached several customers in this manner. These are a few of the incidents that have occurred. Like I said, it's been a busy couple of weeks since my last report. If anyone knows anything regarding any of the open cases, please call the police station at 908-782-3434. As always, if you see something, say something. Call the police if you see or feel something is suspicious. FCP, quick little note. We got a big event coming, and it's the Corn, Tomato, and Beer Fest. It's this Saturday. There'll be hundreds of amazing vendors, 10 craft breweries, Old York frozen cocktails, many corn roasters, and every farm to festival food and activity under the sun. Come check out Stanger Road. It's recently been landscaped with trees and brush removal, and it looks great. Come join us this Saturday from noon to 8 for our community art project, and please volunteer. The FCP could really use some helping hands. And finally, with Civic Engagement, the plans for engaging Flemington are being worked out, but Tony and myself are looking at a presentation about Civic Engagement being shared in September, along with a Civic Engagement event. We're looking at September 11th, and also a day to commemorate that event. At this point, I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Oh, that's it. More information is on the way, and that is my report. Thank you.
Okay, going down, Councilwoman Tilly.
Okay, so tomorrow we have a DPW meeting. Bulk pickup is Friday. Don't forget to purchase stickers ahead of time at Borough Hall. We have a fire department officers meeting tomorrow night. As Jeremy mentioned, the Corn Tomato and Beer Fest is Saturday on Stengel Road from noon to 8. This is one of the largest fundraisers for the fire department, so please come out and support this event. It's free to park and free to attend. If you like craft beer, there's going to be 10 craft beer vendors and last count 35 food vendors. If you are coming, please bring a chair or a blanket. Tuesday, July 26th was the last night of the police department Citizens Police Academy. Honestly, I wasn't sure that I even wanted to attend because, you know, I knew I had the mutual respect for a police department and I thought I knew, you know, most of our officers. Well, man, I was so wrong about knowing anything about the police department. We learned about police equipment, motor vehicle stops, use of force, arrest, search and seizure, active shooters, K9, DUI investigation, ICAP, domestic violence, crash and crime scene investigations, narcotics overview, what and who is our drug recognition expert, OEM, and a general overview of law enforcement. I realized that I had no clue of all the hats that all of our officers wear. I have a newfound respect for our police department and highly recommend to everyone to take the course when offered next. Special thank you to Corporal Lewis Hurwitz. I do want to mention that the fire department and the CERT team are looking for volunteers. HPC needs one more member as well. If you feel the need to volunteer, please contact me at ktilley@historicflemington.com. And please, if we can have respectful conversation during public comment sections, it would be greatly appreciated. That's it for me.
Thank you. That brings us to our first public comment session. So you were perfect to wrap that up. Anyone has a comment? 3 minutes, maximum of 30.
Dorothy Caro, 61 Elwood Avenue. My comments are really directed towards the attorney. Regarding your comments about the mayor's election website and your review of it, I understand that. I mean, it was a public discourse about that. But when you do your seminar, it is one thing to educate council members regarding the murky waters between a government website and private websites and Facebook and social media. The law is crystal clear about educating or talking about or discussing or spending public money on anything to do with campaigns. If you give them campaign advice on how to run their websites, it is completely illegal in the state of New Jersey, and I personally don't want to see my taxpayer dollars going towards that. It's a campaign matter, and if they need campaign advice on website, they should be talking to their county attorney or their election attorney.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, Ms. Stewart?
Yes,
Would you come up to the microphone? Give me the microphone down there. I don't know why there's so many out there.
Lois Stewart, resident from Borough. I wanted to ask, what is the police academy that you people spoke about tonight?
Yeah, I can.
You might.
It was a,
Yeah.
I can explain it if you
Well,
want.
how about if we wait till I raise my questions, because I'll have 3 minutes of time, then I would like to know about what is that? And why I wanted to ask, just a little suggestion, let's print the agenda back to back and save paper and money. And then the biggest concern I have is, I was really taken back at the last council meeting when it was presented to purchase 200 of Main Street. And there were 2 citizens, I think one of them that made comments, and then it was called a roll, and not one member of the governing body had anything to say about that, not one. That's not the first time that this has happened. And I just question why there's no comment from each individual council person when a matter of consequence is raised before this governing body. I just think that the citizenry deserves to know how each of you think about a particular issue. I have no idea, what's in your minds. So I really would like to encourage you, when there's something that comes onto the agenda that's of some consequence, that you be willing to share why you were voting yes or no or abstaining or whatever. Thank you.
And talk briefly, are there any other comments, public comments?
You want to?
Anyone online with public comment? Raise your hand if you do.
Are you gonna tell me what the police academy is?
So the Citizen Police Academy, it's basically like a robust 6-week training program for community members that want to learn more about the background and the deeper understanding of what the police department does on a regular basis. The programs were incorporated first by like the NYPD in 2012 to start to get people more involved in the law enforcement background. And then we started to push them out through Hunterdon County at this point. So it was a great program.
How often are they offered?
So this was our first one we've ever done. So we started it this year. We've always had our Police Explorer program, which was the basis of trying to get the youth involved with the police department. But we found that the adult community also has that need or want to become involved. So we're hoping to at least offer it annually. If the time allows, maybe twice.
And it's once a week for 6 weeks?
Correct. Which it could have been probably.
Oh my God, you could have, yeah, you could have had like 5 more weeks to it.
That's very good. How do you find out when this is gonna be?
I believe it was posted on a bunch of different social media sites. We had a flyer down here for a while.
I know Jeremy announced it a few weeks in his council report.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a comment. So since council's up comment. So, I've been here a couple of times, so mostly,
Could you use
Just
the
the-
microphone, please?
absolutely. Thank you for letting me know that I wasn't here. I wasn't being heard. And I had to kind of reflect. And after I took this tour and did all these things, for me, and I manage a bunch of people, always have in my career, right? And I always told them perception is a supplement. And my perception is my reality. So if it's true to me, it's true to me. It may not be true, but it's my perception, it's my reality. My perception in this case is you guys would come in here to do battle. It's almost like school ground bullets. And when you're saying why doesn't council comment, we're not gonna comment. I'm not gonna comment because I don't think it's worth, I'm not gonna get into the battle of the piss offs. I'm just not gonna do it. We are so much better than this, and you should be better than this because this town demands to be better than this. And you can't go back to the past, you can only move towards the future. I don't know a lot. I'm not very political. I'm not going to be political. I'm always gonna say what I have to say. I won't be bullied, I won't be chastised. This council deserves several things. They deserve to be respected. And they deserve to have a quorum that is no one shouting and constantly criticizing what they should do, We're very intelligent people. I'm extremely intelligent. I don't need people to tell me what I need to do. I assure you, I've worked on Wall Street, I've worked on Madison Avenue. I'm very fortunate that I've been exposed around the world. And what I see, the reason I came to Flemington, well, first of all, because I love the house that I have. That's why I came. But more than that, the more I met people and the more I walked around, the more I saw possibilities. And as I talk to people here, they want more. They don't want to live in the past. They want to move forward. And I realize this is a political year and the whole bit. Whether it happens, it doesn't happen, it's neither here nor there. What I am saying is that when you walk in here, our expectation is this, and I am telling you right now, you will lose credibility with me if you don't do that. And I am not going to hear it. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to pick up my iPad. I'm going to answer a ton of emails that I need to answer because I don't think it's worth it. I will not use this as a platform for people to shout and act like schoolyard boys. That's not going to happen anymore. Because there's a new person here. There's several new people here. And I just think that is so unnecessary. This is better than this. We are better than this as people. We are better than this as a town. We are better than this as a borough. And we're all should be moving forward. I'm certainly not asking you to walk in back of me. You're definitely not gonna walk in front of me. I'm just saying, let's walk side by side to get this done. That's what this is about. I understand your quirks. I understand that there's some issues. I understand that you don't always agree. That's what it's all about. At least talk to it and not act. Thank you.
Okay, wrap up the, is there anyone online that wants to make a comment? Hasn't commented? Seeing no hands go up, we'll move on. We have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 25th, 2022 regular council meeting. Tilly, move.
Long was second.
Okay, Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes,
Ms. Tilly,
Yes,
yeah, pass.
Thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. We have 4 items on there. One of them needs to be pulled off. If we could pull off, please, resolution 2022-175, revising temporary food concession permit application, and we'll put that onto the regular agenda. We could have a motion to adopt the consent agenda, items 1, 2, and 4.
Tilly, move.
Long was second.
Okay, Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
yes,
Ms. Tilly,
Yes,
pass.
Okay. First item then will be on the regular agenda, resolution 2022-175, revising temporary food concession permit application. If we could have a motion.
Tilly, move.
Long was second.
Can you?
That's the adding
No,
it
that's
on
the
the
one.
regular.
Got it, okay.
The next one was complete streets.
No, complete streets is staying on there.
Just that, yeah.
It's just the every state.
So we're, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're good?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get used to each other. So first step then, can we do then the resolution 2022-175 that's added? Revising temporary food concession permit application, if we could have a motion.
I'll move. Is this for,
Tilly, second. I thought we did this.
we put it on the agenda?
We did, now we have
Now
to, a motion to adopt.
But do we need to vote on putting it?
No, we just did. I don't think we need to vote to take it off the consent agenda, we never have in the past.
Do we need to vote to put it on the regular agenda?
We just did, did we not?
I don't think so.
We did not vote to put it on the regular
Okay.
agenda.
That's what I understood, so, that's,
Okay.
we'll get used to each other. So we'll
Because the
do
vote I
another vote.
voted was for the consent agenda.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't record a vote for the move it off the agenda. I apologize.
that's okay. So where are we?
Well, let's make sure that we move it off the consent agenda,
Okay,
okay?
We should vote to approve the other 3 items.
Yes, we did.
I didn't hear
so
you.
really, why don't we start over again? So we have never actually, if I remove something, and Tara, please advise, we've never really done a vote to remove something from the consent agenda.
No, you just
just move
vote and note in the motion that it's for items 1.
This is item 1, we move it to the regular item, it's added on. Okay,
Okay,
so
in that regard, we approved the consent agenda and we had already moved the item off then.
that's right.
Yes, okay, so now we're at the regular agenda.
Okay, so could we have a motion to adopt resolution 2022-175 revising temporary food concession permit application?
Tilly, move.
Long was second.
Can you please give us the Cliff Notes version as to what this is?
Yes, the reason I moved this off the consent agenda, because the revised permit application attached to the resolution, the changes I made to it by adding text boxes in PDF did not actually come through to you guys. So I wanted to explain the additions that will be made to the food, the retail food license. This is late last year, the legislature passed regulations that created a new type of food license called a cottage food permit. It essentially allows home bakers to make things in their home and then sell them at farmers markets, etc. Our application for a food license notes that you have to give when your kitchen was inspected, and a cottage food license doesn't require you to have your kitchen inspected because it's in your house. So I altered the application under point 1 that says where will food be stored and or prepared prior to the event, must be a licensed facility, and items may not be stored in a private home. I added unless authorized by a cottage food operator permit issued by the state of New Jersey. And then I added another line that says, if applicable, cottage food operator permit number with a blank, and please attach a copy of the permit. And then where it says inspected by, I just added in quotations, if applicable. So it allows someone who has this different type of permit to use the existing application. And this came up because we actually had someone apply, and their question was, how do I tell you when my kitchen is inspected when it doesn't have to be because I have this special type of license?
Often how these things get discovered.
Yes, so this is a good thing. It looks like some of the vendors for the Corn and Tomato Festival are going to be hold this type of license. So this you may see a couple more vendors at some of the events now that this license is available in New Jersey.
So, any comments or questions from council? Michael, you call the vote on resolution 2022-175.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes,
it's passed.
Okay. Thank you. Next up is a public hearing, ordinance 2022-12. Bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of and payment of the purchase price for certain real property commonly known as 200 Main Street by and in the Borough of Flemington in the County of Hunterdon, State of New Jersey, appropriating $1,550,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,476,190 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof. If we could have a motion to open the public hearing,
Tilly moves.
just in time, Lily.
Long second.
Public hearing.
Yeah, we need to call the vote to open the public.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay, it's your first meeting.
Mr. Johnston?
Here. It's a yes or no, please. Oh, yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
No, I think she's frozen.
Yes.
Oh, there she goes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes,
Okay, we're open for public hearing.
Okay. Are there any comments, any comments for the public hearing? Regarding the issuance of bonds for the purchase of 200 Main Street.
Lois Stewart, President of the Borough of Flemington. Before I begin my comments,
could you speak up, please?
I'm sorry, I thought the microphone was picking it up. It's not.
Is that microphone picking it up?
It is, but the speakers are only gonna hit up here.
I mean, it might pick you up, but we slack can't hardly hear.
Yes.
I'll shout.
Oh, there you go, Lola. Now we're awake.
Hello, okay, Lois Stewart, resident of Flemington. I do have some questions about this bond issue. But before I begin, I didn't quite understand Mr. Parker's shouting. I didn't, when did the shouting?
This is about the bond.
I know, but I'm almost afraid to speak because, I just.
But you will speak to that.
First of all, I wanted to know how much is the borough receiving for this property, the police department, on this thing last week? Last 2 weeks ago, it was 728, 536.83. Is that the price for the total Hunterdon County Bank complex, or is that the price just for the police
No,
department?
that's the price that we received previously that's in trust right now for the property, with the exception of the police department. I think it was
69.
160, I have
Yeah.
168 in my head. That we'll receive from Mr. Cusk once we vacate the current building.
So that's in addition to the 728 that's shown
But
here.
we can't count on it because we don't have it in hand yet.
I see. Now, I thought that in earlier conversations, that money, 728, 536.83, was going to be used to pay off the balance of the bond that still exists for the purchase of the property originally. How much is the balance on that bond?
Hey, Bill, can you address how much the balance on that bond is?
Yeah, I don't have that with me, but I would think it's probably about 250,000 because there's only a couple of years left on that payback. I'd have to do some research on that.
I don't know, whoever said that's what that money would be used for. It did not come from this administration.
I believe it did.
I don't think it did, but
So anyhow, this figure of the amount that will be available towards the purchase of this property is 250,000 less because we are going to pay off that bond. Is that correct?
the bond will be paid off in the normal course of business.
Oh, that means we're going to keep paying for the next 2 years on that
Yes.
bond.
Yeah, we're not taking any money from the sale and converting it into the bond payments.
And why not? Because I'm sure that,
Because we're using it to buy the new police station.
which interest is higher?
It doesn't have any, that's a question about that. Excuse me. That's a question about that bond. This is a public hearing on the bond for the police station.
What is the going rate now, Bill, on?
It's probably about a 3 3/4 to 4% interest. But we are not able to pay that off. We can't prepay the old bond off. You're not allowed to do that. You have to pay it over the term of the bond that we set forth when we, set the payment schedule originally.
I'd say, thank you. I also wanted to know what are the permitted uses of the American Recovery Federal Funds? Because you're claiming that you're going to.
There's a ton of whole slew of permitted uses. I would highly recommend you go online or contact your congressman for that list.
And
I don't have it.
purchase of property of real estate.
Yeah, because there's
property.
also a well on there. It's a community facility and the ARP money can also be used for the purchase of improving infrastructure. And we're gonna be building a well.
But that's only a part of the property. Does it also permit the expenditure for the funds for the purchase of real property?
Bill?
Yes, it does. There was guidance given to us right before we had to file our report for this back in, I think it was April, that said that pretty much it could be used for anything that we needed for government services. So police department is a government service.
Well, I still am questioning the advisability of the expenditure of this kind of money when there are alternatives available. And at the last meeting, I talked about the possibility of merger, which we had never explored, recently explored. And then another citizen of this town called to discuss this matter with me and mentioned the possibility of remodeling and enlarging this property, which the borough already owns and would have sufficient parking. And that way we wouldn't have to take tax paying properties off the tax rolls. I was wondering if any consideration had been given to that alternative.
So my first year as mayor, that was one of the things we looked at to convert this, and it wasn't going to work for a number of reasons. All of which I don't recall, but it had to do with structural, it had to do with parking, it has to do with the fire department. It wouldn't work for us. It wouldn't work for us.
So how much then will this purchase increase our debt? What is our debt now, and how much will this purchase increase our debt?
Bill?
Yeah, so the way we have to show it right now is it increases it by the 1,476,000. So the total debt currently is $10,240,314. So $10,240,314. So we have to show it like that currently because we haven't paid off any of it, which will happen at budget time next year.
So if it's 10 plus million now, we're going to increase it by the 14, by the 1,476,000. So
No, that includes that.
of the 10 million includes the 1 million.
Correct.
I see. So what impact do you expect that this expenditure will make on our next year's tax rate?
Well, if we're using the funds as we have projected with the ARP and everything, it really shouldn't have an impact on the taxes. Because we'll be using that money that we already have in reserve for making the payment.
But it shows on this sheet that we were given last time that there will be a balance of $268,585 that we don't have the funds to cover.
Correct. So if we theoretically, I guess what we're gonna have to do is borrow that money. So you're looking at, interest rates for a 1-year note are still very low. So it might only be a total of, $10,000 to borrow this money for interest.
That's for 1 year.
Correct.
And you anticipate that the borough would be able to pay off that total $268,585 in one year?
I don't know. I don't anticipate in 1 year. I mean, I guess if we get other funds, there's other things we're looking at, potential grants, maybe, if we're putting a park there, open space money, we don't have all the pieces together yet that we could possibly do without actually having to, borrow any money. We might be able to get those funds to do this.
Well, I just feel that this is an inappropriate expenditure for our small borough with our small number of taxpayers. And I do wish that the borough would take into consideration the financial well-being of all of the people in the borough, because we have a number of people who live below the poverty line. And I know that you voted to purchase this, but nothing is done until it's done, and so that has not been done. So I would hope that you might reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments in person? Any comments from attendees online? Seeing none, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
I will second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Liz,
Yes, sorry.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
pass.
Thank you. Could we have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-12, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of and payment of the purchase price for certain real property commonly known as 200 Main Street, buying in the borough of Flemington in the county of Hunterdon, state of New Jersey, appropriating $1,550,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,476,190 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Tilly will move.
On the second.
Okay, Mr. Johnston,
Hang on a second. Yeah, this is just put on the table, thank you. Sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes, with a comment? Can I comment on something?
Yeah.
No, not during the vote, okay.
No, well, we usually do a comment, a lot of
we just
council
didn't
to
do one.
comment before we vote.
Yes, why is that not yes?
okay.
I mean, we should have called for discussion.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
didn't.
I can do that now, we usually do that, that's why I said that will be
Okay,
used
it's
to.
fine, okay, that's fine. Let's go by the law, go by the rules, I'll make it a comment, let's go by the rule.
No, it's okay, if we could just ask the people who have voted to take their votes back and we can have it up for discussion.
My vote?
Yes,
Withdraw my vote?
Yeah, I'll withdraw my vote.
And then Liz. Right? Or no?
No, we did not.
No, we didn't.
yeah, we just
I
made
did,
it
yes.
and to get it on the table.
Okay, the votes are withdrawn.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to adopt ordinance 2022-12, the bond ordinance. And council members like to make a comment.
And so the comment is that having gone and looked at this police station and meeting with, can't hear me? I'm really having a problem with that, aren't I? And meeting with the police and meeting with PWD and talking to and finding out why this has taken so long to happen. Here's my understanding. And again, I'm new at this, new to town, so to speak. So didn't really get into too much of what's going on in the borough, and shame on me for not doing that, and now I'm here. But my understanding is that this whole redevelopment with the police station has been going on from administration to administration to administration. And so now we're here where we have to do something. There's no choice, you have to do something. And it's costing more money to do it, where if you had taken care of it years ago, it would have been less money and this would not have been this would not have been an issue. So here we are. And everybody's going, well, we may not have this, there isn't an option, right? We've got to get those guys out of the police station. We have got to get them out. It's mold in there, it's deplorable. And why would we ask them to stay there? Even if it were to go to whatever, it's gonna go to Raritan, which is my understanding, that was a discussion that was years ago and was voted down. Why are we back here? It's not gonna happen. Let's move on. Let's fix the problem. Let's fix the problem. And if someone actually has a lot of heartache with that, then they should be here and they should be speaking up. But that's not what I'm hearing. I keep hearing, well, we should do this, we should do that. My understanding from these guys is that all options were explored. And I asked a ton of questions. And everybody, they pointed out sites they went to, they pointed out, this is what happened, they pointed out, we talked about this with the last mayor, we talked about this with the mayor before that, et cetera, et cetera. It's time to move on and make this done. Let's give these guys the just due. They are protecting this community. And so let's give them what they need to do that. And the best thing we can give them is some place to come to work and to come to work and not have to worry about illness. Because I'm telling you, that's a whole nother ballgame. If one of those guys gets sick, then we're gonna be here talking about how we're gonna pay for them for workman's comp and suing the borough because they got sick. Erase all this nonsense and let's just move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, I just A couple of thoughts. Many on this council and this governing body have been inside that station, as Tony has mentioned. And it's a situation where now, when you're up here, you've got to make these decisions. You make decisions, and there were people before us who made decisions, and they were doing the best they could. And I really follow a maxim from Teddy Roosevelt, is to do what you can with what you have, where you are. And I look at the history of that station, and it's easy to say, well, if so-and-so had done this, or somebody had done this, anybody in the leadership position was doing the best that they could where they were with what they had. This was an opportunity that I tell people, this fell out of the sky for us. I also kind of look at this, knowing the cops, getting to know them as a liaison for the past couple of years. We got a really good crew here. And there are a lot of towns who would be jealous of our ability to farm our own police officers. And I'm a public employee myself. I'm a public educator. And I know that as a public employee, you kind of just deal with your place, you deal with your home. And you can't go pounding your fist on management's table and demand that they fix the ceiling or this, that, the other thing. It doesn't work that way. And these guys have been able to do their job in a situation where I look at it as a morale. These guys haven't lost morale. They've done the best they could. Their home is not so great. And I look at this as a net win for this town. It's a choice for the future. It's going to help our department. I think our guys deserve it. I think Flemington deserves nice things. I don't know if that's an odd thing to say up here, but I really do. And I want to be a part of this. And I think that, again, this was something that we were very fortunate. We get a well site, we get a potential area for, I know the mayor has mentioned possibly a park, a social space. We know our town needs those social spaces. We know we're gonna need that water. And we know our officers deserve a nice home. And that's my 2 cents.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm gonna add something too. I know the last time this property was looked at just for the well, it was, I believe it was $2 million that was proposed at that time.
It was crazy, yeah.
So I look at it this way, we're buying the property for the well, and we get the police station for free. So.
Anyone else?
I just like to add what Tony, repeat what Tony said, it was absolutely needed for the officers and their long-term health. That's all.
Liz, anything?
Yeah, I just like to add, I do not take spending money lightly. I do want to address the comment about a lot of our residents living in poverty. I came from poverty, so I do understand those concerns. But at the same time, I think that people struggling right now do deserve a safe home. Our community is our home, and we are using this as a multi-purpose property. And I think that our residents deserve this, our police officers deserve this, and that's where I'm coming from at this. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to add before you guys vote on this, because I don't get to vote. If the borough was not buying this property would be sitting empty and deteriorating for probably at least 5 years due to the legal situation that the current ownership is in. We had to jump through incredible hoops to get permission from the Office of the Attorney General to even get to where we are on this. That could not have happened most likely with the private buyer. That was not on the market. The owner really wasn't all that interested in selling, but once we kind of discussed about how that building's going to deteriorate, and then we're going to have another rotting situation at the bottom of Main Street, like we have in other towns, the buildings that are underutilized, vacant, empty, and rotting from the inside out. And this is an opportunity for us to A, get the police into a modern facility, B, have that well, because if that building, if we were not buying this property, we would not be getting that well. And the other site that we were looking at for a well involved a floodplain, and we were getting a lot of DEP pushback. So basically, we not have another place to put a well. We need that property for the well alone. And this was our opportunity to get it. It was really kind of, as Jeremy said, it was good fortune. That, you know, I stayed on top of it. I stayed in contact with the doctor when he was back from Liberia to get us to where we are. And again, it was not easy. He didn't want to sell it. He wasn't interested. However, we were able, once I explained that that building's not gonna go up in value, it's going to go down in value quickly when it sits there empty and rotting on Main Street, becoming another underutilized eyesore property that it sometimes is. It's that lawn gets grown, the borough's been already mowing that lawn and putting a lien on the property. I don't want to commit the borough to the next 5 years to mowing a property and trying to collect a lien that we would probably never see any money out of. So the benefits for this building are incredible for the borough on a lot of different levels. Thank you. Would you call the vote? No, it's already on the floor.
Sorry, okay, vote, Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
okay, pass.
Thank you. Next up is resolution 2022-176. This is authorizing the installation of a street light on William Street. We could have a motion.
Tilly will move.
Long will second.
So the quick and easy background on this, we have a resident that lives at one of the corners there, has been reaching out to this borough for some time to install a street lamp at that corner. It's dark, we've looked at it. In the meantime, we've had a couple of changes at JCP&L with the government relations people, so finally I got this out. The Public Works Committee discussed it. It's $1,500 to have JCP&L install that light up there. It's just gonna be a regular light. It's not LED, unfortunately. Just because they only install LEDs in like chunks of 10, numbers of 10, lots of 10, I guess would be the proper word. So that's it. It will make the residents, they're very happy. We did receive at one point a petition from the residents there. All of whom signed it, and they'll all be getting a letter as well, letting people know it's coming if they haven't received it already. So, any other questions, comments?
I may have heard you. Where is that? At the corner of William?
William and Broad.
William and Broad. Okay.
Yeah, it's on William, close to Broad.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Go ahead and call the vote.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
it's passed.
Thank you. Happy neighbors there. Next up is resolution 2022-177, authorizing an interlocal agreement with Flemington Regional School District for the special class 3 law enforcement officer. This is just renewing the MOU between us and the schools. He's been there a few years now. Is it his third year? Third year. Do you have a motion?
Tilly will move.
Long will second.
Any discussion?
I know the students love him, so.
Is this a Flemington officer that's there or a Barrington?
No, it's a guy,
It's a Flemington.
it's a Flemington,
Craig Sanford.
that's paid for by the school.
He has a great rapport with the students.
Yeah.
It's such a positive.
Go ahead and call the vote.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
it's passed.
Excellent. Next up, resolution 2022-178, authorizing an on-premise 50/50 draw raffle license for St. Magdalene Church. Do you have a motion?
Tilly will move.
Long will second.
Any discussion?
No.
Call the vote.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
passed.
Okay, next up is resolution 2022-179, approving partial refund for construction permit 22/208.
Tilly,
One second.
Call the vote.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
yes.
Passed.
Next up is resolution 2022-181, authorizing application for the American Rescue Plan firefighter 2022 grant.
Tilly will move.
One second.
Is there any matching funds on this? Kim, do you know?
I think this is 100%.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Cheers and cheers for our fire commissioner.
Yeah, they'll be happy to hear this.
Go ahead and call it up.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Passed.
Excellent. That brings us to our next public comment session. If there's any members of the public who would like to make a comment. Any members online who would like to make a comment, you can raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. Do we have a motion to pay the bills?
Tilly will move.
One second.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Passed.
Is there any reason to go into executive session?
I do not have.
We have a motion to adjourn. What?
That was something I wanted to.
No, that's my ass. We have a motion to adjourn.
Tilly will move.
One second.
Aye, Captain.
Voice vote.
Voice vote?
Aye.
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 Oh, so you came in just in time for that bond ordinance.
Thank you, meeting is
2/3 of the building membership. And I was like, oh, Malik doesn't get here. I don't want to talk about the mayor having to vote on